So if you're one of my subscribers or you're returning from a previous video, thank you very much. If you're new here, I appreciate ya. I've always worn this mask and my glasses in my videos, mostly to help me build up the confidence to even begin doing YouTube in the first place, especially like presenting myself, but I'm done with these things. Hello, welcome, I'm Alex, and I do arty things. I did have an intro that I recorded in my art room. Alas, the $90 camera that my grandparents gifted to me like 7 years ago, which is the one that I'm using right now, it's slowly dying on me, and it ended up deleting my entire intro. So once again, I turned to my parents' shed to record. One of my goals for this year in terms of like video is to not have any drawn intros like I've done the past 2 videos. I personally just don't like how it looks. Are you kidding? No! Are you freaking kidding? Legit, it had a full battery and it died on me in 11 minutes. I want to interact with you all, and this just feels more personal. The deletion of the intro and the running out of battery is officially the last straw, and I've already bought a new camera. It's going to be a whole process to learn to use it, but I think it's going to make for a massive leap in quality for my videos. Anyway, a while ago, I strolled through an antique store and spotted this box of vintage crayons. Ultimately, I decided to give it a week, and I came back to find that they had been sold out. So great, I thought. Yay, I missed my opportunity, and I lamented about it for like months. Months later, I walked through the same antique store, and I spotted the 90th anniversary Crayola crayon tin. In no way was I about to make the same mistake twice. So of course, I bought them immediately, and that leads to where we are now. But going into this video, I didn't have much, if any, plan for the art. It's interesting to see how my thoughts developed and changed through the process. With that all said, I hope you enjoy the video. Alrighty, this is our fresh box of crayons. Never been opened before. It's still perfectly sealed. To celebrate the 90th anniversary of Crayola crayons. This limited edition tin commemorates the 90th anniversary of the Crayola crayons with its nostalgic original design and the classic box of 64 crayons, featuring the built-in sharpener. So, 90th anniversary, it's been quite a few years since then. I'll be very curious to see if they have the discontinued dandelion crayon in it. They discontinued it, I think, in 2017? Something like that. It was recent. Without further ado, alright. Ooh. Look at that rich color. What is this? Okay, interesting. I was not expecting this. So, not the cardboard. I was not expecting this. So it comes with the tin, but it's really just a package of crayons. This box belongs to Alex. This is a really nice tin can. That'll be really cool for like a background. Crayons non-toxic. Oh. Proof of purchase. Oh, there we go. Is that dandelion? Oh, that'd be so cool, please. Yes! It's a dandelion crayon. It is indeed a dandelion crayon. We got a dandelion crayon in this box.
A dandelion. Must be the last one of the season.
I mean, you can find quite a bit of them, but nonetheless, I still think this is really neat. This is really cool. Here we are. I'm sorry. My brain just does not work creatively when everything is neat and organized. Well, I guess there's only one place to start. Red. And here's the finished swatches. There's overall a good spread of each color. So after scrolling for a little while, I did see this idea on Pinterest that I think would be really cool to try. So I saw this idea that you can make a pinwheel just out of paper and then, let's see, split it in half, 3 and then quarters. This side being cool colors and this side being warm colors. I think it would be really cool to put this behind a illustration and then be able to turn it and have the illustration shift colors. Could do this, or I could just do more of a simple color block. Too much pink. But yeah, something like this. Alright, after all the effort of going to sketch an idea, I started with the plans, sort of trying to figure out the drawing and how the circle would interact. I came up with the idea of maybe doing a still life where when you move to the circle, the colors of some of the objects change while the rest of the background remained kind of dull or like gray or something like that. And then I had this idea of like, well, why not do a sky? And I was like, oh, that'd be really cool to do like 4 times a day. I don't know, for some reason I felt like doing a girl on a horse. And I'm like, I never felt like doing that before, so gotta go for it. I decided to go for an elven girl for some reason. And then I designed a little outfit for her, sort of a tunicky, kind of warmish weather thing, so I don't know, I might add some like snow on the ground. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm excited to see where it goes, so I'm gonna get started. For this project, I repurposed a leftover piece of cardstock to cut out the shapes I needed. The size was around 19 by 25 or 20 by 30 inches. I can't quite remember. With a ruler in hand, I carefully measured out and marked a 12-inch diameter circle. Next, I sketched 3 smaller circles, dividing each into 4 sections, leaving a central space. These were supposed to form the core of the spinning mechanism. I then turned the remaining half of the paper into what would soon become the mountains. After cutting everything out, I jumped into sketching the different times of day. I divided the circle into 4 sections and started planning which time of day would go in each one. While the order didn't make a huge difference in the final piece, I still wanted to ensure everything flowed smoothly and nothing fell out of place. I placed a crescent moon in the top left corner for the nighttime, leaving the rest to be filled in later. For the morning, I positioned the sun in the center of the drawing, with clouds forming a V shape around it to create a natural frame. For the afternoon, I sketched sunlight bursting through the clouds, though unsure of the success of this one. I moved on to the evening sky, drawing clouds drifting upward, which would later become stripes of color. With the sketch lines in place, it was time for the fun part, bringing the scene to life with bold crayon colors. To make the crayons work, I opted for a cross-hatching technique, adjusting the pressure with each layer. Applying more pressure helped solidify the crayons and blend them smoothly, creating a rich and textured finish. I started with the night sky, layering 4 different shades of blue, making sure the colors gradually shifted from lighter tones near the center to deeper, darker blues along the top and edges, creating a sense of depth. Around those same edges, I added purple and darker blues with black at the very ends for added dimension. During this process, the warmth of my hands caused a few of the crayons to snap, and I found myself accidentally smudging color onto my skin. These little mishaps only strengthened my growing suspicion that the crayons before the 2000s might have a superior formula, one that allows for a smoother, more vibrant application than what I've experienced with newer crayons. To finish it off, I added a touch of yellow for the crescent moon, bringing a soft glow to the scene. For the morning sun, I blended yellow crayons, mixing a soft lemon yellow with the bold dandelion crayon to create a radiant glow. I applied a similar technique from the night to the morning sky, but instead of crisscrossing, I applied downward strokes towards the sun, carefully working around the rays of light. To intensify the lighting effect on the clouds, I used dark grays, orange, and blue, and then outlined them with white and yellow to hopefully achieve a level of dramatic contrast. Filling in the afternoon drawing was very similar to the morning. Lots of lemon yellow and dandelion and flicking the blue crayons towards the sun. I tried to make the blue feel deeper and have the look like it was breaking through the clouds. Out of all the times of day, this one feels the weakest. I think I added too much orange and I'm not happy with how the light came out. It blends too much with the morning section. It does have a stylistic feel, but it's not what I envisioned. One of my younger brothers joked that it looks like an explosion, and I don't disagree. After a little grumbling, I moved on to the last quarter. For the evening section, I had a clear vision of what I wanted. I gathered all of the crayons I needed and tackled the drawing one section at a time. I began with my favorite combination of lemon yellow and dandelion, drawing in the setting sun, then moved upward, pressing the crayons down hard to achieve the vibrant color these crayons were made for. Or crayons. I've probably been saying crayons this whole time, but it's crayons. I built up the colors layer by layer, starting with a bright orange, blending in bold pinks and reds, then transitioning to rich, deep purples. And finally, adding a section of deep blue for some contrast and variation. I added some detailed touches with a white Posca paint pen. To complete this piece, I added a black Posca paint pen to draw in some foreground elements, aiming to create more depth and a layered effect that would bring the whole composition together in the end. Okay, I have no idea if the audio is going to be any good. I don't really have time to set up my mic right now. It is currently 8:15 at night, and I have to head home around 9:30. So that means, oh boy, okay, I have a lot left to do, but I did finish this portion of it. Here is how let's see if I can do this cool. Here's how the sun looks. Turn it, get this one, turn it again, get that one, turn it again, and you get nighttime. So I have to work on the cliffs, the rider, and the mechanism to keep this. I've got a lot to do. I sketched the mountainscapes with bold, blocky shapes, leaving an open space in the center and framing the sky in a V shape. After carefully cutting out the mountains, I turned my attention to the horse and its rider. I sketched the characters using a mix of erasable colored pencils, a 2H pencil, and watercolor paper, all set up on my light board. Then inked them with the Hoo-Hoo fineliners. I primarily focused on rich, earthy colors, complemented by reddish and purple undertones. I added pops of yellow as an accent color and used green for her eyes to make them really stand out. I layered the shadows and highlights with colored pencils, using crayons for the broader areas. The colored pencils were ideal for refining these smaller details, while the crayons stuck with a theme. I kept the horse simple, using a lighter, creamier color palette to create a soft, natural look. My hand was in a lot of pain at this point. But with the finish line in sight and only 2 hours left to film, I pushed through. Using my watercolor and gouache for the mountains, I mixed a reddish tone with purple and burnt sienna, using perpendicular brushstrokes to create a fullness to the rock. I gradually built up the watercolor layers until I was happy with the result, then set that aside to dry. To push some of the mountains into the background, I applied a layer of horizon blue. Following the pattern of what I've done previously, I applied crayon in purple, yellow, blue, browns, and tans. I worked carefully to create a variety of hues in the crevices. I wanted to ensure I didn't lose the line art while cutting out the horse and the rider, so I added a bold outline around them using my brush pen. It was then that I realized I was working with the world's worst and flimsiest X-Acto knife. This was a $5 at best knife set from a dollar store. The blades on this knife are so thin that they bend and feel like they could snap at any moment. I noted to not use these again after this and to find a better set for the future. I also created a few extra props, some land, rocks, and cacti, using marker paper as a base with the hoo-hoo markers for the initial color, and crayons layered on top for added detail. I know, using marker paper when I've used watercolor, when I've used crayons, or when I've used colored pencil. Yeah, I know. I realized it was definitely turning into quite the mixed media project, but that's not the point. Now we've reached the part where everything up to this point had gone relatively really smoothly. Until that was, shoot. The whole concept of this piece is centered around showcasing the crayon art through a spinning wheel at the back. But what do you do when you realize that the tiny piece of paper meant to hold everything together simply won't? That's exactly where I found myself. The paper circles weren't fitting, and at worst, they were tearing apart. I managed to get one in, only to discover it was too tight to spin because of the thick papers. With just 15 minutes left on the clock, I needed a solution. And fast. What could make this work? I needed something cylindrical that could accommodate all of the layers. My eyes landed on the wooden styluses from my rainbow scratch art video. That could work. I could almost hear my mom face-palming as I made the decision. I reluctantly grabbed the X-Acto knife that I had cast aside and carefully started carving into the stick. Cutting paper was one thing, but wood, much more challenging with this piece of crap knife. Slowly, I whittled it down to a few centimeters long. Was this safe? Was there a better tool for this somewhere in the house? Probably. So, sorry, Mom. But I didn't lose any fingers or end up in the ER. With my new makeshift solution, I grabbed my hot glue gun, pulled out a circular piece of cardboard for the back, made a star out of cardboard for the front, and glued everything together.